Welcome to the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast, a spinoff of the Substack Loud Nerd in the Basement, your home for authentic news and reviews on nerdy movies and TV shows. Now, time for the Friday News Roundup. Well, welcome back to another Friday News Roundup edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Zolnai. Thank you so much for listening, however you may be listening. As always, this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, of course, and YouTube. Highly recommend you checking out the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I always post 2 or 3 shorts up there every week, so check it out. And especially in the coming weeks, I'll be going on vacation in a couple months, so I'll be doing any big reactions to news that way, but that's in the future. And as always, if you want to get the full experience of Loud Nerd in the Basement, you can by upgrading your Substack subscription to the paid tier for $6 a month or $50 a year. I try to be fair in terms of pricing. Thank you so much for your support, by the way, for those of you who have upgraded. But if you do upgrade, you get some perks. One, you get to be able to submit questions that I answer here on the podcast. I have one today that's really good. I always love answering these because they're just really fun and they make me think of things that I haven't really thought about before. Also, you get access to spoiler articles such as the one I did for Spider-Man Brand New Day that came out, I believe this week or last week. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And you also get access to my monthly rewind reviews where I take an older movie and I give it a in-depth analysis along with just kind of some background info on the development of the movie that I maybe didn't know or you didn't know or just I found interesting and or maybe why something didn't get a sequel. And you can actually, as a paid member, request a movie for me to review. The one that I did for this month was The Rocketeer, and that was actually requested by one of our paid subscribers. Really enjoyed looking at that film again. I hadn't watched it in a long time. Did you know Jan from The Office is in that movie? I forgot, and that was a fun little surprise when I went to rewatch it. But thank you so much. If you have upgraded your subscription, I really appreciate the support. It helps me to be able to go see movies and write reviews on them and upgrade my equipment. Like I have a new mic now, so hopefully you've noticed that the audio quality is a lot better than it was a few episodes ago. But no matter whether you're a paid or free subscriber, I thank you so much for your support. I hope that you get a lot of enjoyment from my content. I'm trying to be a little bit more of a light in the dark cesspool that is the internet and just our world in general these days. But enough talking about me. We got some news to address, so let's get to it. First of all, Jurassic World Rebirth seems to have some problems with the sequel, because Gareth Edwards has reportedly exited the project, citing quote-unquote creative differences, which is the fun catchphrase for we didn't like what he was doing or vice versa, so we're firing him, letting him leave with his dignity kind of a thing. Apparently it was just over differences. The Universal Studios put out only a brief statement saying, quote, "We had an incredible experience working with Gareth on Jurassic World Rebirth." That's all they said. So it was just, thank you so much for what you did. Bye. And I mean, I'm not surprised. I feel like Gareth Edwards is one of those directors where he came from the indie scene. He kind of had a breakout movie with Godzilla 2014. And then that kind of propelled him into the mainstream. You know, he did Star Wars Rogue One. He did, obviously, Jurassic World Rebirth. And I wonder if, just because we know that there was some behind-the-scenes issues with Rogue One where a lot of it ended up getting reshot by Tony Gilroy, who ended up doing Andor, the TV show, which is excellent. If you have not watched Andor and you're a Star Wars fan, even if you aren't a Star Wars fan, check it out. But I wonder if he just kind of got tired with the big studio movie and he wants to go back to doing some smaller stuff like The Creator. Because he has shown that he's a talented director. So I don't think that it's a matter of him not being able to do what they wanted. I just wonder if he was like, look, the last movie, I didn't see Jurassic World Rebirth. By all indications, I didn't miss much. It just did not look interesting to me. I think the whole Jurassic Park, Jurassic World thing is kind of played out. I mean, how many more secret islands did John Hammond have? Like, it's getting to be just ridiculous levels of retconning here, and I I just wonder if maybe he's like, look, there's no story here. I'm not putting my name to this kind of a thing, and they just decided to part ways over creative differences, and I mean, I would be fine with them putting the Jurassic Park franchise to bed for a little bit. Like, again, I love that original movie. I like the Jurassic World, the first one. I thought it was a great spiritual successor to the original. And, even the sequels to Jurassic Park, Lost World and 3, have their charm while I don't think they're better than the original. And it feels like they don't really know where to take that franchise, and I wonder if he saw the writing on the wall there and was just like, okay, I'm out. I'm done. And again, I think it'd be good to kind of just put that franchise away for a little bit and let sleeping dogs lie, and then maybe 10 years from now someone can come with a pitch that actually reinvigorates the franchise and takes it to an interesting direction, because you can only do, why should we create dinosaurs, why does man want to play God so much? We can only do that so many times. I mean, it feels to me kind of like the Terminator franchise, where you only have the one central idea for that franchise, and how many more different ways can you honestly put it out to make it and make an interesting story behind it. So I would advise Universal to just kind of let it lie for now. But obviously, the last movie made almost $1 billion, so I'm sure they'll probably find someone else to do it. I just don't know if it's worth doing at this point. But we'll see, and I'm interested to see where Gareth Edward goes for his next project. Again, my bet is it's going to be something like The Creator, where it's more creative driven and more personal to him, and he's got more control over it, and it's just an original thing from him. But honestly, our next story has a little bit of a Jurassic Park connection to it. The dearly departed Sam Neill, who, man, I still can't believe he's gone. It stinks. It has been revealed that he will actually be playing in the upcoming Legend of Zelda movie coming from Sony Pictures, and it's going to be his last performance, reportedly, and he will be joining Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck. I believe that's how you say her name. Apologies if it's wrong. As well as a few other actors and actresses, including Ganondorf, who's been cast. He's the main villain. If you don't know, he's kind of like the Bowser of the Legend of Zelda franchise. I haven't played Legend of Zelda much. I know I should turn in my gamer card. I was just always more of a Mario kid than the Zelda kid, and the Zelda games were a little bit harder for me, so I never really got into them. I know the basic lore of Zelda. I'm excited for the movie, although it is Sony, so I'm a little skeptical. But it'll be nice to see him in a big budget movie that a lot of people will see one last time. I think that's awesome that it's not going to just be like, obviously, he's going to bring you a good performance no matter what the level of the budget or how big the role was. He was going to bring his A game to it, but it's nice that it's going to be a more well-known property that a lot more people will see. So I'm excited. They've been very quiet about who's playing who, but the rumor is that he and Yvonne are going to be playing the King and Queen of Hyrule, the place where Legend of Zelda, the story of Legend of Zelda takes place in. That's the realm, so to speak. So I'm excited. I'm glad to see that. Again, I'm glad to see he'll be in something big. It'll be interesting to see how he is in that movie. I'm very interested in how that movie's going to be in total. Honestly, I don't know what to make of it. I think it'll be good, if nothing else, because we've seen, based on the Mario movies from Illumination, that Nintendo has had a much bigger hands-on approach than they did from the 1993 Mario movie. I think they learned their lesson, and it sounds like the creatives over the games have a lot of say over what the movie actually does and with their characters and everything. So I'm hoping that stays the same with the Legend of Zelda movie, especially because Legend of Zelda, it's a very basic story, so it shouldn't be that hard to mess up. But again, it is Hollywood who always likes to be like, well, I could do my own thing with this. Like, I'll put my own spin on it. No, just give us Legend of Zelda. Don't try to make your version of Legend of Zelda. Just give us what was in the games in movie form, please and thank you. So we'll see how that goes, but not Sony. Universal was not the only one to have issues with a sequel to a big blockbuster movie. Warner Brothers is apparently clashing with the creative team behind Barbie, including Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. And according to reports, the biggest issue is over money and contracts. So it sounds like they don't want to shell out the money for like Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling and Greta Gerwig and all of her staff, which is surprising because the Barbie movie made $1.5 billion. So you would think that, it'd be Warner Brothers would be like, all right, how much money do you want? Here's the blank check. Write your figure on it, and we'll pay it. So it is a little weird that they're going to be so frugal now all of a sudden. I don't understand it at all. It seems like a weird business move, especially when you're about to be bought out by a company. You would think you would want to have something like this in production, because I don't see Paramount coming and being like, yeah, we don't want to make another $1.5 billion. No, not us. Like, again, say what you will about Paramount's management. At the end of the day, these people want to make money, and they're going to be like, hey, what can make us money? I didn't mind the first Barbie movie. Again, I have great respect for Greta Gerwig. She's a very interesting director, and she brings unique flavor and style to her films and scripts. I also knew that Barbie wasn't for me. Obviously, I didn't play with Barbie growing up. I was more of a Star Wars action figure kid. And Legos. So I had sisters that played with Barbies, but that was the most interaction I ever had with them. But I also recognized the talent behind the movie and what the movie was trying to say. And I think a lot of the culture war stuff was really stupid over it. Again, I do not get into that stuff. I just judge a movie on its merits. What is the movie trying to do? What is the movie trying to say? How well was it made, and all that stuff. I don't try to overreact like the internet, but I am really surprised that Warner Brothers is taking such a hard stance over this movie of all things. And I wonder if part of it is after the box office failure of Supergirl, they're kind of being cautious, and they're like, hey, we're about to be bought out. We need to make sure that whatever big franchise stuff that we are doing is going to make money. And I wonder if the performance of that movie kind of spooked them a little bit. But the reports also say, according to Variety, that Warner Brothers has until the end of the year to make a movie, or at least get a movie started. Otherwise, they will lose the rights back to Mattel, who owns the toy rights to Barbie, or I guess all the rights, actually. So I think this will get done at the 11th hour. I don't think Barbie needed a sequel, but I think if Greta Gerwig has a story to tell with the sequel, fine, let her do it. Go ahead. I know she's busy getting the Chronicles of Narnia ready to come out in February with Netflix. So I think it'll get done at the 11th hour because, again, money talks. They're not going to leave a potential $1.5 billion on the table just because they had to shell out an extra $200,000 or $200 million. I don't think it'll be that much, but another substantial amount of money to get Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling back. And especially with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, like, these are two really big actors at the top of their game right now. Like, Ryan Gosling was nominated for an Oscar as Ken. So it's just, I don't know why they're surprised that, the people who made our movie a success want more money to make the next one a success. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a heartless, billionaire or whatever, but it just seems really stupid to me and short-sighted to not be like, hey, yeah, let's give whatever they want in order to make this happen. But again, I'm merely a loud nerd on the internet. I don't get to make these kind of decisions or understand why people make them. But continuing with the Warner Brothers train, we moved to DC Films. And it's been reported that they have shelved 2 of their potential shows that were in development. Paradise Lost, which was the Wonder Woman prequel TV show series, as well as the TV show Waller, which was supposed to focus on Amanda Waller and explore that character. And honestly, I am fine with both of these shows going away. I've said before on the podcast, I don't know why we needed a Paradise Lost TV show. The whole point is that it's Paradise Island. It is a paradise. So why would we have a dramatic show showing trouble on Paradise Island? It did not make sense to me. And then also, again, they were comparing it to Game of Thrones, which, can we stop comparing every fantasy TV show that comes out to Game of Thrones? Like, I guess maybe it's saying, hey, this has got the production quality of a Game of Thrones where there's a lot of money for the CGI budget, big name actors. But I mean, that's just all streaming shows nowadays. Like, everything is kind of bigger budget and more prestige now. Like, the lines between TV and film has really been blurred at this point. You just have a lot of intermingling in terms of talent with directors, writers, and actors. So I don't get why we constantly do that. But that's an aside. I just a little mini ran over. But in the end, I'm fine with both of these being canned. I really do think the box office failure of Supergirl also kind of shook DC out of their stupor and be like, okay, we have to focus more on the big names that are going to get people to actually watch. So it's like we have Lanterns coming out next week. I've heard good things about the first few episodes. I'm excited. I'm hopeful that it's really good. And then we got Clayface this year and then Man of Tomorrow next year. But after that, we really don't know what's coming. And the Jimmy Olsen and Garage show. I forgot that. That's probably coming out next year. As well, I would imagine that's going to be probably a late fall or winter release. I would imagine, but yeah, I did not understand why these were in development in the first place. I think also Wonder Woman is coming. I would bet dollars to donuts that that's the next big character that they are going to be putting a movie into production for, but. Yeah, they need to announce something soon. I've been saying this and pounding the desk, saying this for a while now, where we need James Gunn to come out and just give an updated slate of, even if they're nervous because of the whole Paramount Warner Brothers merger of just, we don't know what our future is, just announce stuff. Say, hey, we are for sure putting this to production. We are going to pretend that until we are told we are shut down, we are going to continue to press on and make stuff. And I think if you do that, you're going to get a lot of fans rallying behind you. Because, I mean, again, internet doesn't reflect reality, but there is not a lot of excitement. There's a lot of trepidation about the DC universe right now and what the future is for it. And if they can come out and be like, hey, Wonder Woman is coming in 2028, lock this date on your calendars. Here's what's coming. Here's who's playing Wonder Woman. Batman's coming 2029. Here's who's playing Batman. If they did those 2 things, just those 2 things, and then maybe say, hey, and then Lanterns is getting a season 2. Boom. There you go. I think that alone would get people excited. I think the problem is there's just not a lot to get excited about right now because people are like, I mean, yeah, I'm happy I'm getting Lanterns. Clayface looks interesting, I guess. But then after that, I don't really have anything else to get excited for besides Superman 2. Like, there's nothing announced. And half the stuff that Gunn announced in his initial, I'm now head of DC Studios or DC Films, half of that stuff they announced is either been axed or we don't even know if it's still happening. Like, supposedly James Mangold is doing a Swamp Thing movie. He was also supposedly doing a Dawn of the Jedi movie. And I don't think either of these films are happening. He's kind of just gone dark after Indiana Jones 5. So I think having an updated slate, just saying, here's what's coming out, here's when it's coming out, here's what we're building towards, would go a long way. So I don't know what the holdup is. I really, really hope that happens, because otherwise, again, James Gunn responding to questions on Threads. Yes, it's nice to have that transparency, but that doesn't go as far as something like an official announcement of no. According to Warner Brothers and DC Films, May 5th, 2028 is a Wonder Woman movie. That's when Wonder Woman's coming out. And then, I don't know, July 10th, 2029 is when Brave and the Bold's coming out. Like, having an actual movie date announced, having an actual actor or actress cast goes much longer than just saying, yeah, we're working on it. Okay, I could say that to my bosses all the time, and unless you actually produce something, you're not going to get much faith put into you. But we'll see. I'm glad that maybe they're reassessing and being like, hey, we need to start making some stuff that fans actually want to get excited about. Because I don't know anyone that was excited about Paradise Lost at all. I don't think there was any buzz for that. I think most people were having the same reaction I was of just, why are we making this? But we'll see. Hopefully we get some announcements of what's actually coming soon. But lastly, Marvel has an announcement of their own that they made where we now know who will be playing Cyclops in the new X-Men film. According to Deadline, Kit Connor is set to play Scott Summers, a.k.a. Cyclops. He's only 22 years old. His biggest role is in the Netflix show Heartstopper, I believe is what it's called. I haven't seen him in anything. I looked up his filmography, and there were a couple movies that I recognized, but I don't remember him in it. And that's maybe more just a testament to my memory than his performance. I trust Marvel Studios casting. Again, I can't think of any casting that they've had that I haven't liked. So I am excited. I do find it interesting, again, the way they're kind of trickling out casting announcements for X-Men. Like last week we got Emma Frost, obviously. And then spoilers for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Skip ahead about a minute if you haven't watched it and don't want to be spoiled. It's made $2 billion, but there might be that one person that will yell at me if I spoil something. So skip ahead right now. So obviously we know that Jean Grey is being played by Sadie Sink in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So that's another X-Men casting that's been done. She's young too. So I'm glad that they're going on a much younger scale with these actors. It's smart. That way we can kind of see them mature, kind of like what they did with Tom Holland in the MCU, where it's like, hey, he was younger. He starts out as this kid, and we kind of see him grow and mature, and the stories that he's in kind of grow and mature with him. So I'm excited about that, and I think that's really smart, especially since X-Men is going to be central to the MCU for at least the next 10 to 15 years. So you want actors and actresses that can stick around in these roles for a long, long time and keep up with the physicality of the roles that's required of them. So I'm excited. I also wonder if maybe Brand New Day is a reason why we're getting kind of this trickle-down news that they're kind of building off of the hype of that. Because obviously it's made $2 billion. So I can imagine them being like, well, let's keep that hype train going by just every week, here's a little sprinkle, here's a little crumb, here's a little thing to be excited for. I don't know if I would prefer more them just doing a huge, here's the cast at Comic-Con, and then here's some, artwork or whatever, or concept art showing them in their costumes. Like, I might be a little bit more, I may have liked that a little bit more, but it is kind of exciting to be slowly hearing it. But at the same time, I have mixed feelings on it. I'm kind of fine with both, but also would maybe want more of just give me the whole thing at once. Just don't give me my meal piece by piece. Just let me have the whole thing, kind of a thing. But overall, I'm excited. Again, Cyclops really didn't get a lot to do in the Fox X-Men movies, so I'm hoping that they rectify that with the MCU versions, and especially if they delay putting Wolverine on the X-Men for at least one or two movies. I think that'll go a long way to letting the other X-Men characters have their moment to shine before he just kind of sucks up all the attention in the room. But overall, yeah, color me excited and intrigued for this. But that's all I had for the news. And now we will move on to paid subscriber questions. I got one this week that's really good. And again, if you want to be able to submit your own questions, just upgrade your Substack subscription to the paid tier, and I will read it now. When you see a studio take a story that could be a gritty, hard-hitting R-rated film and tone it down to a PG-13 to maximize box office dollars, does that automatically hurt the movie for you as a critic? Or do you think a truly great director can tell a terrifying or intense story regardless of what the MPAA slaps on it? Where do you stand on the PG-13 compromise? I really like this question, and I've thought about this myself. And this may sound like a cop-out answer, but I do think it's true. I think it depends on what the story and atmosphere you're going for. Like, I think of something like The Dark Knight. Like, I remember a lot of people saying when that came out that they were surprised that it's not R-rated. And it's like, well, technically by the standards for the set by the ratings board, there is nothing in there that's shown that makes it an R-rated film. But the intensity brought by the characters and how they staged and filmed everything, it feels borderline R. And I mean, especially nowadays, PG-13 can get away with a lot more than they did 20 years ago. So I think that's part of it too, is just there's a lot more wiggle room in PG-13. Basically, it's like, okay, basically you can't have more than one F-bomb and you can't show any excessive nudities and violence. The blood and gore can't be excessive either. That's basically where it is. So for me, it's just a matter of, does it serve the story? Because, if something like Saving Private Ryan, like that needed to be rated R because you need to show how intense the war is, and you really can't do that without really just letting the camera linger on the carnage. Like it really kind of drives home what's at stake and the dangers that all those men were facing each and every day. So I think you needed that. Whereas for me, like, there's been a whole hubbub about the new movie. I think it's like One Night Only or whatever, where basically couples can only have sex once a year. It's legal or whatever. And basically the director came out and said that he cut all the nudity because he said Gen Z doesn't like nudity. And for me, it's one of those things where I do roll my eyes when there's like nudity, especially when it's used to drive the advertising of like, oh, so-and-so got naked for this film. It's like, well, that's not why I'm going to see this. If I really wanted to look at that, there's plenty of websites that offer that to me for free in the comfort of my own house. But I think that a lot of nudity is unneeded. There's been a few, like, I can't remember what movie it was, but there was one that was all about the African slave trade. And it showed historically accurate conditions where they had all the slaves on the deck chained together naked. And it's, for me, I was like, I do believe that this is necessary, and I do believe the R rating is necessary because it needs to drive home just how horribly mistreated these people were and how dehumanized they were, where it was like, it wasn't done in a sexual manner. It was very much just like, no, look, they stripped them of all their dignity, where they forced them on a hot deck of a ship to be completely naked and just exposed for everybody, and they just sit there, and it's just very, very cruel. And I think it was effective using nudity. So for me, it's all about how it's used. Like, I remember in the case of cutting out cutting down a film from an R rating to a PG-13 rating, I'm normally against that because I think that it's very hard if you're shooting something one way to make it make the impact still felt while also keeping the original intent. Like, one of the examples I always go to for that is the first Venom movie, where it was reported, and you can see it in the film, that movie was supposed to be R-rated, but it got pushed down to a PG-13 movie because Sony got cold feet. And as a result, you really feel the choppiness of that movie, where it's just a lot of action scenes are truncated. There's a lot of quick cutaways or obvious reshoots to dull down the violence and everything. And the movie suffered for it, in my opinion, because it's like, well, you're taking away all the style and really the horrific nature of Venom and that character by stripping it down and making it PG-13 and everything like that, because it was very clearly shot as like a body horror movie. So taking all that out really kind of hurt the final product, in my opinion. So that's where I stand, is like, if it's, I'm normally against dulling it down. Like if it's one or two scenes where it's like, okay, hey, we had this one scene that was really excessively violent, we toned it down to fit the rest of the movie, I'm fine with that. It's just, it's one of those things where if you're from the get-go being like, this is going to be R, there's a purpose behind the violence and everything like that. Like if you cut down the violence, again, to going back to Saving Private Ryan, it really kind of takes away the edge and stakes of that film by doing so. But for me, it's all about, again, what your intent is behind the content of your story. Like for me, like I write my own stories, and I'm very much like, when it comes to like swearing and stuff, it's like, does this serve the story and the characters in any way? Like if, like for me with swearing, it's like, I don't mind swearing in my movies, but it needs to have a purpose. It needs to feel natural for that character. And if you're just having F-bombs being thrown in just for the sake of sounding edgy or cool, I don't like that. Like the example I always go to is Zack Snyder's Justice League, where in the epilogue you have Batman say the F word, and it's like, yeah, that wasn't necessary, dude. Like you feel like a 13-year-old that learned the F word yesterday and now is using it for his favorite characters. It's just, it felt dumb and out of place. And so that's where I always go back to, is how does the content serve the story and the characters? Like, again, war movie should have that balance. You know, I don't need a Captain America movie to be R-rated. I remember when the first Captain America movie came out, a lot of people thought that it was going to be Saving Private Ryan, but with Captain America in it. And then you had people very disappointed when it was more Indiana Jones than Saving Private Ryan. I was like, well, that makes sense. I mean, if you're going to have this, you know, fun comic booky universe, it'd be really weird to have like Cap, you know, with blood on the shield in his face, and he's like climbing through, you know, bodies that have been ripped apart by machine gun fire, like, and then to have him be like, all right, now I'm with the Avengers, like, it would just not work at all. So I get, and I think it was a good choice to go more Indiana Jones style anyway. That first Cap movie is underrated, despite how clunky the ending is. But so that's where I'm always at. It's just, how does it serve the characters and how does it serve the story? So don't dull it down for the sake of a rating, but also know what kind of audience and story you're trying to tell. So it's kind of on the studio and the director and writer to kind of find that balance. Like, you know, again, I'm never going to want an R-rated Spider-Man film. I don't need that. I don't need to see Spider-Man, you know, fighting, you know, a guy and then cracking his neck open or ripping, like, just, no, I don't need that. So that's where I stand on that, is that I don't like compromises when it hurts the integrity of the story. But I also think that you do need to have those controls for directors that try to go overboard on certain aspects of storytelling and filmmaking, where it's just, okay, this feels more exploitative than actually of substance. Like I remember when Game of Thrones came out, like you had the term sexposition coined, where it was like, oh, well, we have a scene where we need characters to give big exposition dumps. Let's just have a bunch of nude people walking around in the background. It's like, well, how about you don't do that? How about you actually have a creative way of having that information given to the audience and the character? So that's where I'm at. But great question. Thank you so much for that. And again, if you want to be able to submit your own questions, just upgrade your Substack to the subscription to the paid tier. I really, really appreciate it. But before we get out of here, I'll tell you what I'm watching. So I just watched the ending of X-Men 97 Season 2. I have a review that I'll be writing and putting out in the next couple of weeks on that. I was going to do it next week, but found out that I have time actually to go see End of Oak Street, which I will watch this weekend and then give a review on that next week. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know if it's going to be spoiler free or spoiler filled or just a regular review. I need to see the movie first. I just don't know enough about the movie to really say if, like, okay, do I need to really take out a lot, or is there a lot to talk about in spoilers with this one? But I'm intrigued about that movie just because it looks like it's giving me what I wanted the Jurassic World sequels to give me. So I'm excited for that. I haven't watched the House of Dragon season 3 finale yet. I'll probably watch that in the next couple of days for sure. And then obviously next week, the Lanterns show starts, so I'll be watching that and then reviewing that entire season when it's all done. So be on the lookout for that. Also, right now up on the Substack, you have my newest article that you can read for all subscribers, and that is all about the MCU and how I think it can regain audiences' trust. I don't think the MCU is dead or a failure or anything like that. I do think it's not in a great place, but I do think there's some steps that they can take to get themselves back to where they were before. So go check that out if you haven't, and thank you as always for your support on any level, whether it's from free subscriptions or paid subscriptions, just liking and subscribing or giving my podcast reviews on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. All of that is really, really helpful. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be back next week with more news. Thank you so much. Bye.